Karen ordered me to repaint my fence, so I chose neon pink and exposed her lies. You ever get a letter that's so absurd? You read it 3 times just to make sure you're not losing your mind. That's what happened to me the morning it all started. A folded pink envelope taped to my mailbox with the words urgent violation, re-fence scrawled in bold across the front. Inside was a citation from the Ridgeway Estates HOA, demanding I repaint my fence within 10 days to meet neighborhood uniformity standards. Now, here's the thing: I don't live in an HOA, and I sure as hell didn't ask for one. I moved into Ridgeway last year, after a brutal divorce and a cross-country move. I wanted a fresh start. I chose the quiet side of town for the view, the modest mortgage, and the absence of neighborhood drama. I painted my fence a soft cedar brown, stained it myself over a 3-day weekend. It wasn't a masterpiece, but it was mine. That's why the letter felt like a slap. I called the number listed on the notice. Ridgeway HOA, Karen speaking. Of course. I'd met her once, short blonde bob, air of condescension, pearl earrings that practically screamed, "Don't touch me." She introduced herself at the mailbox cluster with a laminated badge that said HOA President and a folder full of rules nobody had ever seen. I'd shrugged her off, a wannabe boss, but now she was trying to enforce regulations. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "there's no HOA here. I checked before I bought the house." She didn't miss a beat. "We've recently reorganized. It's a provisional charter. That's not a thing. We have standards. Your fence clashes with what dirt click." 2 days later, I got another notice. Then a visit. Karen marched right up my driveway in beige heels, held out a clipboard, and said, "If you don't comply, there will be consequences." I asked her if she'd brought a paintbrush and smiled. She didn't like that. The next week, I got flagged for aggressive yard decor, referring to a single ceramic frog by my roses. Then came the Facebook posts. Some neighbors refuse to respect the rules. Someone thinks neon colors are next. Her passive-aggressive crusade was building, but she had no idea what I was capable of. I started researching. Turns out there never was a Ridgeway Estates HOA. The original developers never filed one. Karen had created a provisional charter herself, using Clipper logos and a Wix site. The entire operation was fake. She'd even started collecting dues from newer residents, mostly the elderly. This wasn't about my fence, it was about power. And that's when I decided if she wanted a new paint job, she was going to get one. I went to Home Depot and asked for the brightest, most absurd color they had. Something that would blind a bat. "Neon Pepto Pink," the guy said. "You sure 2 gallons? Please." That weekend, I painted the entire fence. Every board, front and back. It looked like Barbie's dream house exploded across the property line. The morning after, Karen showed up again holding what she claimed was a final warning. She didn't even knock, just stood in the driveway, trembling. "Are you mentally stable?" "I'm expressive," I said. "This violates visual serenity." I looked her dead in the eye. "So does your perfume, but I never filed a report." She stormed off, but I wasn't done yet. I posted the whole story to a local Reddit thread. Within hours, it exploded. Hundreds of upvotes, dozens of locals chiming in. Turns out, Karen had issued similar fines to at least 15 other neighbors. One woman was tricked into repainting her entire home. A man paid $300 in fake weed control dues. I gathered screenshots, compiled testimonials, built a dossier. Then I called in a favor. My cousin works for a consumer rights attorney. We drafted a cease and desist, filed a fraud complaint with the city, but I knew that wasn't enough. Karen built her castle on appearances, so I was going to tear it down with color. That's when I found my first ally. Mr. Alvarez, 3 houses down, had been bullied into removing his flagpole because Karen said it was a hazard. He quietly walked over one night and said, "I like your fence." Next morning, his fence was neon green. Then a neighbor painted theirs in electric blue. By the weekend, half the street was glowing like a pack of highlighters. We called ourselves the Rainbow Row. Karen lost it. She called the cops. They told her to take it up with the city. She called the city. They told her there's no regulation on fence color unless an HOA is legally registered, which hers wasn't. She tried to file a civil suit for property value damage. It got laughed out of court. And yet, somehow, she still had one more move up her sleeve. I thought she was finished. I thought the neon fence parade, the public mockery, the failed police calls would have pushed Karen back into whatever scented drawer she crawled out of. I was wrong. One quiet Monday morning, while I was sipping coffee in my robe, I heard a gas-powered hum low, deliberate, coming from out front. I stepped onto the porch just in time to see a man in a landscaping vest spraying something on my fence. Neon paint running, streaking, melting. I sprinted outside. "What are you doing?" I shouted. "Karen's orders," he said, deadpan, motioning toward a clipboard. "HO, mandate, color reversion enforcement." I lost it. I snatched the sprayer hose and yanked it away, nearly toppling him. "There's no damn HOA," he stammered, then hopped in his truck and peeled off. Left a trail of paint splatter on the curb. My fence looked like a melted popsicle. That was it. No more sarcastic posts. No more back and forth. It was time to end this. I called Victor again, the attorney, the Rainbow Rose silent champion. He'd already drafted one complaint. Now, I asked for the nuclear option. A class action. He agreed. We collected statements, photos, records of fake fines and unauthorized alterations. Karen had no business spraying anything, let alone hiring someone to vandalize private property under false authority. Meanwhile, our story kept growing online. News outlets caught wind. A local reporter came out to film the fence war. I wore a bright pink shirt to match. Karen refused to comment. Then, the real twist came. A man named Derek reached out, said he'd once dated Karen's daughter. He still had copies of old emails where Karen openly discussed starting an HOA just to control the riffraff, and boasted about how idiots don't read charters before signing. She'd bragged about fooling seniors and immigrants into paying her. He sent them all to me. We had her. The next HOA board meeting she tried to host in a local church basement was the perfect moment. We printed everything. 30 of us showed up. Every person she'd targeted, every home she'd tried to control. Some wore shirts that said HOA, hilariously overrated authority. She walked in, clipboard and pearls in hand, and froze. I stood up. "Karen, we know it's all fake. The bylaws, the fines, the website." Her eyes narrowed. "This is a meeting for Ridgeway residents only." "We are Ridgeway," I said. Victor stepped up and handed her a thick folder. "Consider yourself served. Civil fraud, class action, and oh, here's your own cease and desist." Karen tried to speak, but the room, filled with once silent neighbors, erupted. "You made my wife cry over a wreath. You charged me for planting marigolds. You called my son's birthday party a public disturbance." She stood there, unraveling, shaking as cameras rolled. And then, something human cracked through. She whispered, "I just wanted to make it nice again, like it used to be, but it was never about order. It was about control, about fear disguised as standards, and we were done with it." The fallout was swift. The city launched a formal investigation. Karen was fined for impersonating a legal authority, fraudulently collecting payments, improperty vandalism. Her faux HOA site was taken down by a court order. The spray company she hired sued for trespassing and settled quietly. But the real justice wasn't in the courtroom. It was in the community. Ridgeway changed. Not overnight, not magically, but slowly. Honestly, the Rainbow Row stayed up, colorful, weird, free. The local hardware store even started stocking Rebellion pink paint as a joke, and it sold out twice. Neighbors started hosting block parties again. Real conversations happened about boundaries, about expression, about what kind of community we really wanted to live in. Not perfect, not uniform, but real. I rebuilt my fence, didn't repaint it. I left the streaks, the mess, the evidence, a monument to the war. I added a little plaque, "This fence survived a Karen." And every time someone walks past and chuckles, I remember what this all taught me. Don't ever let someone pretend they have power over you just because they printed a title. And if they try paint louder, call to action. Would you have painted it neon? Have you ever faced fake authority or HOA abuse in your community? Speak up below. Let's talk about color, courage, and what real neighborhood power should look like.